Thanks for your help with the logo. That was big time. I appreciate that. We knew who to go to get it done. All right, back at it. First practice today for South Carolina. I thought it was a good day. We've shortened our time on the field a little bit. We'll also pull back a little bit physically as the week wears on. You just knowing where we are in the season, and this being the back end of the kind of that middle 6-game stretch. It's been a really physical run. Proud of the way the team's performed through that, and I want to make sure we have a fresh and fast team on Saturday because we're going to need it. Obviously, enjoyed last Saturday immensely. Appreciated the opportunity to celebrate with the team. I think, when it's a marker for us as a program and for this team to get to bowl eligibility, but certainly not our destination. We keep climbing here and keep reaching for more. And more for us this weekend is a really talented South Carolina team that is as good on defense as we've seen. I mean, they contest space. They play really well on the edges, know how to get the ball turned over. It's an offense that has an identity, that's patient, that starts with a physical run game. And, Coach Beamer's always had really strong special teams play in between. So it'll be a real challenge, just like every game in our league is. But a challenge that we're excited for, and certainly to be in this point in the year and playing really meaningful games is a testament to the work and investment that our players have put in, our staff has put in, and that our community has invested in over the course of our time here, and it's fun. So we're having a good time, and we'll look forward to the chance to compete against a really good team this weekend and in front of a home crowd that seems like it's going to be a great environment. And with that, I'm happy to open up for questions.
How do you stop a defensive line that's been as dominant as South Carolina's has this season?
Well, you gotta find creative ways to make for space, because if you are inefficient on early downs, and this is a little bit what got us against Auburn, but when we get behind the chains, if you get this group to 3rd and 7+, you're going to have to deal with that edge pressure, and they're really good at being disruptive at the launch point. So finding space on early downs will be kind of a one priority for us to do that. Obviously, you've got to, again, handle the edges and find the matchups you like in the run game to get some semblance of forward movement. And, we need to be able to connect on some of the shots that I felt like we were close on against Auburn. We're looking for 1 or 2 more first downs within that game just to really control possession, and then, another touchdown to create separation. And I think it's going to be a very similar game this weekend, and that's if we can, protect the ball. If we don't protect the ball, then we expose ourselves to a team that is really good at capitalizing on turnovers and short fields, and that was on display for them against Texas A&M, which is a really good team that they beat at home. And their ability to create short fields for their offense and then create explosive plays offensively, was a formula that allowed them to create distance in that game. So obviously, offensively, like I said, 1st and 2nd down efficiency sets up 3rd down and manageable. That's kind of our rhythm for maintaining possession. We maintain possession. We get a chance to get the ball up and over the top, and now we're playing to our formula. If we're all schedule early, it's going to become a defensive grinder like Saturday was, and we're going to rely on defense and special teams to hold the line until we're able to find those breakthroughs.
Cedric just didn't have the burst to the outside that maybe we've seen. I don't know if those guys are playing banged up. You have no bye week. You got to get them prepared in practice. How do you deal with that?
Well, I'm trying to learn and grow in my role too, and that means, we've been since our first bye, we've really scaled practice back earlier than we maybe have done in the past. And this week, I sensed that too. I thought our team played really hard in the game, and I was the passion, the effort. I mean, all of it was there. I was really proud of that. But I also saw a team that you could just sense the lag effect of what's been a really, physical season. I mean, but particularly when you look at this 6-game stretch that, we're battling through, whether it's Alabama, Kentucky, the Ball State game, which is physical, Texas, Auburn. I mean, it's one right after the other. This one will be the same. So how do we do it? Obviously, trying to pull back some of the load in practice, knowing that there's a need for really good work against the South Carolina looks, but maybe some of the good-on-good work will peel back. I'm also looking to pad down a little bit earlier in the week than we normally do, just to protect some of those shoulders and just the physical parts of the aches that kind of come about through the season. Again, my goal is that we bumped meetings back a little bit this morning to promote sleep. I was grateful for the falling backward of the clock, which I'm sure we all were. Just everything we can, right? This is about putting all of it into one effort, and then knowing that there's going to be some rest on the back end of that for a 2-game push to finish the season. But I'm not going to grind this team into the ground this week. We put a lot of great work in. We got to trust in that. And again, I want to see a fresh and fast team on Saturday, knowing that any team this time of year is going to be dealing with some of the things that we are. It's just inevitable, especially in this conference.
What does it say about your team and that, like, the things that have been the bread and butter of your offense, those third down conversions, got taken away, and you still win at Auburn?
Well, it's a team. I mean, it's a team game. There have been games, obviously, that our offense is kind of carried and set the tone for success. And Saturday, I felt like defensive performance and special teams that set the tone for success. But again, when we needed the offense to come through, I think it was a 14-play, 70-something yard drive that ended up in a touchdown and also took the clock from 13-something to 4-something, right? I mean, that moment in the game was huge. And so in that way, we synced up at the right time. I thought it was a game that, the entire time you're just fighting for some type of control. When we took the lead off the punt return with a field goal, that felt like, with the way we were playing defensively, that felt like a real positive, point for us when we were able to drive down and make it a 10-point game. You kind of sense that it was, we were going to have a chance to close it out. But it's just what the team game's about. I mean, you're going to have off days in one phase. I think we're playing against some really good defenses too. I mean, this is, the third week in a row that we're facing what I consider to be an elite defensive unit. The scheme, the skill. Again, anytime you're talking about dynamic play in the front, it's hard to get things started. We have to kind of dig into our bag of creativity and also, again, put our guys in favorable leverages and favorable matchups to try to get the movement we need. But I was proud of the team aspect of Saturday's game, and I think it speaks to the confidence we have throughout the program right now, not just through one phase. Go ahead, Teresa.
The idea of building and staying hungry, this program being bowl eligible at the beginning of November is rather new. So how do you kind of make sure that guys are focused on this week, not looking ahead to the bye and things like that, and keeping, to see just how far you can build it this year?
First of all, I think if there's any regret, through the season, I still contend and believe that things happen exactly as they should. I mean, but truthfully, there's opportunities for us to have experienced that win earlier in the year, which would have been great, because we want to reach for the highest of heights here. And I forget the number of points that have differentiated us in our losses, but it's obviously the slimmest of margins. And I think that's a great lesson for us that, once we do turn the page on the season, we'll carry forward with respect to how close we can be, But as far as the team goes, you just kind of build trust through the year. And I think part of that is messaging. I think the messaging hasn't changed much here, but I think the way it's carried to the position rooms and affirmed there and supported there and then carried into the locker room too. This team has some real player leadership that I feel like from last season to this season, we really separated ourselves from a lot of the kind of the internal negative attitude and mentality that we weren't strong enough yet to break through. It was still holding us back. And we interjected obviously some confident, process-driven players that have elevated, the guys here that were ready to reach for this type of season. So all that to say, I'm not concerned about either us lingering too long in a celebration of 6 wins or us projecting ahead. If anything, the indication I get is just the guys showing up and how they looked in the meetings, how they looked on the practice field, what the conversations are around the attitude around the building. These guys are excited to play on Saturday. Now, we have to prepare the best we can. We have to be in our process. We can't skip steps. We have to understand what makes South Carolina a really good team and a team that has lost some tight games against good teams and was able to separate from a really good team on Saturday. And that's, again, how they'll challenge us too. So I believe that this team knows that in our conference, we can't have a misplaced focus and expect to get the outcome we want. And these guys are hungry to take this as far as we can take it.
How personal is it to you to try to break this 15-game streak in the series this summer?
Sincerely, it doesn't occupy any part of my mind. I just don't hang on to those things. To me, it's like I'm really interested. What's personal to me is that we represent ourselves the best we can on Saturday. That's what I want to do. And, obviously in doing that, I would like for it to be in a winning effort and independent of who we're playing. Or, I didn't realize that it had been since 1955 that we beat Auburn, Alabama. But, those are things that are fun to find out after the game. But, they don't have any part of our, approach or process. So, again, we stay pretty insulated here with, a focus on us, a focus on who we are, a focus on the things we need to strengthen in our performance. And that'll be our formula, from here on out.
Back to 2 questions ago, you talked about the mentality and the leadership. You added defensive coordinator to your list of things. How much has maybe had guys that can lead the team as players and new voices in the room from on the offensive side, how much has that freed you up to maybe not have to deal with leadership issues and take on more of a presence as a coordinator too?
Well, it's been huge. I think that starts with Tim and Tim and his staff, which includes Jerry, and obviously Jerry, who also helps me, keep perspective on the big picture things. Because as a coordinator, you can get buried really easily. Now, I also have a great defensive staff too that, I think probably they would tell you that from January till now, we've probably spent too much time together, but there was a long winter and spring where we watched a ton of film. We spent a lot of time, and all that is in an effort to kind of set the table for what I want this to be defensively and what it needs to look like, and what our process needs to be as a staff. And, Steve Gregory has kind of taken a lot of the coordinator role on in terms of just some of the, when I'm in here with you guys, obviously I don't want them waiting on me. They need to be, again, watching the practice film and turning the page on the day. And his ability to serve in that role gives me time to both elevate and do head coaching, responsibilities, but also spend time really deep diving into things like third down. It was clear as the year went on we needed stronger performance there, and that's an area that I can put my attention. Sometimes, like the trap you fall in is creating too much defense when all you need is to really know and run your structures at a really high level. So that said, I think I spend very little time with our offense. We'll always follow through on how the day went and what issues they're having, and anytime I can help or I need to help with anything, we have those meetings and I meet with Tim and talk about the plan and what they're going to do. But as far as the day-to-day operation, I mean, they own that, and that's a big help to me, along with Steve Gregory and Nick Lazinski and Larry Black and Javon Hay and Melvin Rice, all the guys. Jay Rich, Jimmy Thompson, those guys defensively allow me to do the things I need to do to keep the program running. And then on top of that, when you're responsible for 120, 18 to now like 26-year-olds, I think is our highest end, which is crazy. Inevitably, any problem that bubbles up is kind of a problem that ends up on your desk. And one of the things that's happened over the course of 4 years here is we've really strengthened in the support staff area. So our organization, our operation is such that I have a ton of problem solvers that attack things before they get to me. So Ben Cauthen would be the primary example of that. But I mean, there's so much that gets handled before I need to spend my energy on it, and I just get the updates as to, hey, this is what happened. Because we have a rhythm for how we handle stuff here. There are certain standards of operation that we exist in. And when the players take over those standards, you're really running effectively, because a lot of the issues get addressed before they even get to your staff. So all that to say, I mean, the balancing of two roles has been really challenging. And, in some levels, I want to do both of them better. I know we've made improvements, obviously, on a team level, and we've made improvements defensively. I think there's just more for us there. But the only way that it's been effective to the point that it's been effective is that, there's so many people that have strengthened in their roles and are helping kind of support me in this effort.
You mentioned the defensive performance like they had on Saturday. What were the big things you guys had to clean up heading into Auburn, and how do you carry that into South Carolina?
I mean, every team's different. Every team presents different challenges. I think if you look back at there was a stretch there, really. Kentucky, Ball State, and to a certain extent the first half of Texas, where but Kentucky and Ball State in particular, I was not happy with just the level of detail we had, and there were just still too many guys not playing the same call. Just it's not always capitalized on. So we don't always talk about these things after the game, right? It's just because it's hard to see as someone observing the game, the 11 guys on the field and how the structure is supposed to work out. But you can be just inches off in your structure, and that can be a deep ball, that can be a run that hits, and it just felt like we were leaving too much to chance on the field. Now, I've said this before, but any issue, I start with my desk and then ever expanding concentric circles around my desk. So we've kind of dialed into an identity on base downs defensively that's allowed our kids to really learn the structures at a deeper level. So we're kind of compounding repetition that way. Believe it or not, we've kind of shortened our calls so that, we're not sitting there signaling for 30 seconds. And as the offense is lining up, I've been committed to getting the calls in earlier to them so that, we're pretty good when we have our cleats in the ground and we all see it the same way. It's just been a growth in general that we've kind of pulled forward. and I've challenged them, and we've challenged them as a staff in ways too to elevate their game. What I see now is a group that practices the way they want to play. The communication in our on our practice field mirrors the communication we want on game day. There's a better awareness of who we are in terms of our system and how we're attacking. We've shrunk the call list, and then we've pinpointed areas on third down that have helped us change leverages and at times beat protections. So all of that came with us to the field against Auburn, and we held the run in check because we played structurally very sound and played with layers and leverage, and then on third down we had a good performance because we executed, and there's more to be gained from that. So doubling down on that, just it's taking that growth forward and continuing to clean up because there's still things. I mean, we miss an over, we don't in thirds, we don't cover it the right way, and it gets out in space. That's a chunk gain. There are tools we have within our packages to negate that over that we need to access in that moment. So the experience you build as you go helps to clean up the play as well.
Clark, you've been very busy the last few days, but have you had a chance to read the letter from Greg Sankey on feigned injuries and new punishment structure? Because if there is a perceived feigned injury and you lose your argument against it, they're coming after the coach and tapping your wallet. Have you had a chance to read that? I don't think it's been an issue for you or your team this year yet, but any thoughts on that situation?
Well, sounds like I need to read it. No, I have not. And it's not, I mean, first of all, I've got the utmost respect for the commissioner and his leadership. Again, I've said this a number of times in the SEC meetings and media days, but I'm always blown away with the opportunity to hear him talk, his perspective on the game, and what an incredible person to be leading our conference in this era of change. I try, again, I'm most effective when I put my attention on the things that are going to have a direct impact on our performance, and there's no part of our program that tries to game the rules around, feigning injury. So it's not going to affect us. Now, we absolutely coach situationally. If you're an offense, I mean, we've actually coached this in the last 2 weeks that, if I'm a defensive player and I'm not able to perform in the next snap, or I need to come off the field, for whatever reason, we teach our players not to try to run off the field, in a moment where there's a shoulder issue or there's an ankle issue or there's something where they're able to maybe hobble to the sideline. But we always tell them, hey, it's important that we don't create that level of with an injury. We don't create that level of chaos. That's standard operating procedure. The same vein at the end of games, where you don't, maybe on defense, you don't want to create a situation where you're giving the offense a timeout. It's like, hey, get off the field at all costs. And we have to have everyone focused in that moment and understanding of the fact that, we're not trying to do the offense a favor by, again, stopping the clock and allowing them to get themselves together. Now, those things are understanding within the game how, to handle yourself when you're hobbled. But on the whole, and again, even in those situations, there are times when, Bradley Mann tears his ACL in the game on Saturday, and ain't nothing you can do about that. I'm heartbroken for him, but those injuries unfortunately are part of the game, and that's something that unfortunately is always going to be part of the game. But with respect to what we coach or teach our players is the understanding and awareness. When you're hurt and you can't continue to play, you are to go down and to stay on the ground. You're not to try to drag yourself off the field. There's never a situation where we tell someone to fake an injury in order to somehow impact the operation. So, they need to be aware of, again, the things that set in motion to get a substitute in, to make sure there's time, to make sure they're healthy too and safe. Those are all things that we coach and teach, but never do we cross the line of trying to game the system that way.
So Bradley Mann tore his ACL against Auburn.
Yeah. So he's going to be out, and it's the other one. So not the one he's injured prior. The rest of this, I think, looks fairly similar. We've got a couple other bumps and bruises, but on the whole, I think guys are, working back to availability. But that's the big one coming out of the game. It happened at the end.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, guys.